The final spin. Hey everyone, welcome to Prince the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with the final January random movie reaction. So, yeah, you're watching this on February 1st, so you may be wondering, like, wait, it's February, it's not January anymore. Well, the entire week prior to the day you're seeing this, Saturday, was January, and so I figured I could probably get away with doing one more, even though it'll be uploaded in February technically. I'm recording it in January, so we're going to do one more, especially since I got a late start into January due to the timing of the month and how I came back, what time I came back from the holiday break and all. So we have one more we're going to get to. Tomorrow's reaction, the Sunday reaction, will not be randomized, though. It's just this one. So we're going to see what we got. We're going to just take it from here and hope for the best, really. Let me bring it up. Here we go. And let's spin and see what we get. Which one is it? Oh, it's Grosse Point Blank. This is by an anonymous donator. Also, sorry if there was a weird echo on that. I don't have headphones plugged in right now. So yeah, Grosse Point Blank is by an slow down. Is by the anonymous donator. So I mentioned the anonymous donator before. They've been donating for various things, but wish to remain anonymous. They have told me as such via a donation, and so they just want to go by anonymous, which is fair. Some people might not want any sort of identity out there to any degree, really, and that's fine. If someone wants to lurk and wants to donate but wishes to remain anonymous, I have no issue with that. Thank you for still enjoying my content and for donating to, give us more stuff to watch and all. So, Grosse Point Blank. This is an interesting movie because I live near Grosse Point. So, for those who don't know, this movie, I don't know much of anything about what it's actually about. All I know is that it takes place in Grosse Point, Michigan, which is not too far off from where I live. I'm not going to say exactly where I live, but it's not far away. I'll give you that. So it's not too far away from where I'm at. I've been to Grosse Point many times. And I know this movie stars John Cusack, who is a good actor. I like John Cusack. I also like his sister, Joan Cusack. This is going to be interesting because I've seen stuff set in Michigan before, but not a lot of live action stuff. Like, there's an occasional movie that's set in Detroit and whatnot, but most of the things I think I've seen that are set in and around Detroit usually are either animation or video game stuff, like The Loud House, which is set in Michigan, or Detroit Become Human, my favorite video game, and stuff like that. Or RoboCop. RoboCop is one of those examples of a live action thing that is set in Detroit. Actually, I think there's more than I initially thought about, because there's RoboCop. Those are set in Detroit. I have seen a movie that I think is just called Detroit that has, I can't think of his name right now. The one actor from Star Wars who plays Finn, he's in that. There's a couple other big actors, and I just can't think of his name right now. But yeah, I've seen various things, but it's still not very common. A lot of movies will either be in, like, New York or LA or Chicago, places like that. There's not a lot that are set in Michigan, Detroit or otherwise, and definitely not a lot that are set in random cities like Grosse Point. Which Grosse Point is this, by the way? I wonder as well, because there's Grosse Pointe Shores, there's Grosse Pointe Woods. It's like, which Grosse Pointe technically is it? Um, that's a thing to wonder too, if it goes into any kind of specification. I also wonder if this was filmed on location, because if it was, I might recognize some areas. Might it's a possibility. I don't think there's like going to be a huge amount of iconography that I'll recognize. It's not like it's Detroit where you have a bunch of like statues and whatnot that are very recognizable. Um, but you never know. It's possible. I think I think John Cusack is from Michigan. So I think that might be why like he did this movie. At least I could imagine. I don't know for sure, but I think he is. Um but I'm very interested to see what this is about, because like I said, I don't know really anything about the actual film. I did look up the genre as I do with everything on the list, and um, I forgot to write it in here. So I don't even remember what the genre was because I forgot to write it in on on the entry on the wheel. God damn it! I can't even go off of that now. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for this to see what happens, and hopefully it ends up being pretty good. Like I said, I don't really have much of anything to work off of. I don't have like any knowledge, not even a genre now. Grosse Pointe blank though. If I'm going off the title, so we have Grosse Pointe and then blank. I feel like that doesn't tell me much. Like it kind of makes me think of like it could maybe be like a crime thriller or something like that. But that's about like all I could like maybe surmise from the title. Um this is a movie that I originally put like on my like on my list of suggestions on the Discord server. Because I randomly heard about it. I just super randomly heard about it on TikTok. I was scrolling through TikTok and someone was mentioning underrated movies and this was on there. No spoilers in that video, but they were just mentioning some examples and that was on there. And I'm like, wait, like Grosse Pointe, Michigan? And so I briefly looked it up and it's like, yeah, it's Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Um, and that's actually how I ended up finding out it's John Cusack as well. But like I said, I didn't like look up any big like plot details or anything, so I don't know what it's about. I don't. If I did see the genre when I initially looked it up, that was like what, months ago at this point. I wouldn't even remember it even if I did see it at that point. um, yeah, it's just I'm interested just because of the fact that it's set in Grosse Pointe. I'm very curious to see what that means, and considering it's part of the title, I have to assume it's to some degree important. It's like the setting has to have some relevance to things. But we're gonna see. We're gonna check this out. Hope for the best. And like I said, this is the last randomized wheel reaction. From here on out, we'll be going back to just ones that I choose from the list of donation rewards. And in February, we'll probably go do some ones that are maybe focused on love. So that's a possibility. Um, but we'll touch on that when we get to it. Let's focus on this for now and see what we have in store. So let's get this going. Hold up just a second there. Before you click that link down in the description below to go to today's reaction, I just wanted to take this moment real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the awesome gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. Every single day of the week, we have some awesome Let's Plays for you. A bunch of different things to check out, and more coming in the future. And don't forget to click that subscribe button or like the video if you really enjoy the content I'm putting out. There will be more to come in the future. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, And let's get this going. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. You ever watch a movie that just makes you go, well, that was a thing that occurred? You ever watch a movie that's just so confounding that you don't even really know how else to describe it other than it's a thing that exists? Because that's how I'm feeling right now. Cuz I think the best way to go about this is to mention that when this when this movie is an action movie centered around, being this kind of action thriller with the focus on hitmen and whatnot, the movie is actually really good. The action stuff is the best parts of this. When this movie decides to be a romantic comedy, it is one of the shittiest things I have ever seen. And not out of any like badness or anything. It's not like it's a like a it's not like it's offensively bad or anything. It's not like it's like unbelievably like how do I put it? It's not like it's in bad taste considering the heavy dark subject material of hitmen and stuff. It's a dark comedy, a black comedy. But it's like it's not in like necessarily bad taste. It's just so fucking stupid. And it's like these are good actors, and I feel like almost none of them gave a good performance in this. The only one who I think actually like tried was Joan. I feel like Joan Cusack was the only one in this movie who actually gave a damn about trying to give a performance. John Cusack, our main character, Martin, was just like, okay, listen, my dude, you are so much better than this. Like, you're not even trying. And you have Minnie Driver, and it's like, girl, we know you can act. Why are you... Dan Aykroyd, it's like, I can expect this from. Dan Aykroyd has movies where he just phones it in all the time. Not every performance from him is a Blues Brothers or a Ghostbusters, or even a Christmas with the Cranks. I think his performance in that was good as well. Of course, I'm also one of the few people who likes Christmas with the Cranks, it seems. But sometimes you just get a performance where it's just like, he clearly is doing this for a paycheck. He does not care about this film. But it's like, you have all these great actors in this who just aren't, or don't appear to be at least, trying to actually act. The dialogue is atrocious. It's so goddamn bad. People are not talking like people. And I know in a lot of movies, hell, most movies, people don't talk like people. You don't go to a Marvel movie expecting Iron Man to sound like a real human being when he says something. No. You don't watch a horror film and expect the dumb teenagers to sound like what actual teenagers sound like when they talk to each other. No. They have to fit in with a certain style, a certain genre, a certain kind of vibe that the film is going for. And a lot of the time for films that works, even if it's very unrealistic in terms of how they talk and what the dialogue is and how it's written and all. But it's like here, it's like not only does no one talk like this at all, But it's like it's so actively awkward, and not like cute awkward or funny awkward, just cringy. It's really cringe. Also, John Cusack and Minnie Driver had no chemistry in this whatsoever. I did not believe their romance for a second. I did not believe they even had a history. That is how little chemistry they had. It's and the thing is, I know both of them can have good chemistry with other actors. Clearly not with each other, or at least not in this film. The humor is so actively bad. Almost nothing in this is funny. And again, with when you have this terrible chemistry, the romance doesn't even work either. Also, the way it just kind of wraps up without wrapping up at the end, the way like he saves their relationship and everything is so fucking like forced. It's not funny. It's so unbelievable. There's no reason she should have went with him at the end. Honestly, she probably should have called the cops. Like, yeah, he saved her life, he saved her father's life, sure. But there was no reason for her to forgive him. And I guess that last monologue was like, oh, not really about forgiving. It's about like just accepting it and moving on and leaving the state or whatever. It's like that's no, God no. There's a lot of characters who felt completely pointless. The not cop security guard guy. What was the point of his character? What did he add to this film? The drunk asshole who was, trying to get everybody to do drugs with him. What was the point of his character? The friend, the dumbass friend, played by the dumbass actor Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven's the right name, right? Shit. I'm so like thrown off by, yeah, Jeremy Piven. It's like, what was the point of his character? Because nothing ever came of it in the end. After he finds out and kind of becomes an accessory, he just stops being a character completely. Because there's not much time left in the movie. That's another thing. The movie is rushed as fuck. It's like this movie's like an hour 40 minutes or so. It's super rushed because they try to do way too much, try to have way too many characters have a role, and it's like, what? Like, Joan Cusack's character was probably the most interesting character in this, and she barely had a role. I wanted more of her. The writing was so goddamn bad. There were also some very weird cuts at points, some very weird scene transitions that did not work at all. And you want to know the fucking weirdest part about this? This movie's well received. Listen to this. Listen to this. This received positive reviews from critics. Rotten Tomatoes, because fucking Rotten Tomatoes, gave the film an 81 fucking percent. The critical consensus reads a high concept. What the fuck are you talking about? A high concept high school reunion movie with an adroitly cast John Cusack and armed with a script of incisive wit. There is no fucking wit in this movie. What are you fucking talking about? Metacritic gave the film a score of 76 out of 100 based on reviews from 27 critics, indicating generally favorable. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone magazine wrote a positive review, praised the writing as smart, not smart ass, praised director George Armitage for smashing action scenes. I will acknowledge that the action scenes were good. They were the good part of this film. That reveal character. Praised Aykroyd. Okay. I mean, it wasn't anything special for him. And the talented cast in smaller supporting roles. And ultimately said the film flies on Cusack's seductive malevolence. What does that fucking mean? He's not, like, are you trying to say he's, like, attractive in this? Because, no. And I'm not saying that John Cusack's not attractive. He actually is. I actually think he is attractive. Not in this movie. There's nothing charming or witty or funny about him. Nothing that makes him attractive. His character is such an awkward, off-putting, concerning person that it's like, honestly, anyone with half a brain would have run for the hills the instant he started talking to them. Roger Ebert apparently gave the film 2.5 stars out of 4, praising the chemistry between the lead actors. What fucking chemistry? They had no chemistry. And enjoyed the dialogue, the atrociously terribly written dialogue, but considered it a near miss, wishing for a wittier, more articulate ending rather than an action sequence. The action sequence was like one of the best parts. Are people fucking high? This is not the worst movie I've seen. I want to emphasize that. I've seen so much worse. I've seen so many movies that are like really actively bad. Whether they're offensively bad, like the last Airbender movie from M. Night Shyamalan, whether they're just unbelievably cringy to a point where it's just unenjoyable to watch, like, I don't know, most stoner comedies, I would say. Or what have you. There's worse films. I've seen so much worse than this. And the fact that this does have some good moments with the action sequences, but it's like the tone alone is such an issue with this. This movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to be an action thriller? Does it want to be a romantic comedy? Because trying to combine them, it's like, sure, it can be done, but you have to really put forth effort to make that work. You have to actually make the script and the fucking story blend these two sides together, which this writer clearly didn't know how to do. It kind of feels like two different movies. It's so tonally distant from itself. And it's... The movie Hook, with Robin Williams, Dante Bosco, so on and so forth, is considered a failure by critics. Critics didn't like it. It got a lot of flack. It's only popular because it's a cult classic. But this had a score in the 80s? People panned Suicide Squad from 2016, but not this? Y'all willing to hate on so many movies that are actually good, in my opinion. Of course, this is all opinion. Just want to emphasize that. I feel like I have to because people sometimes don't understand that. It's all subjective opinion. But people love to hate on films that, in my opinion, are actually really good. But this is the movie that, like, you're going to say is good? This. This feels like it was written by a middle schooler, and not in terms of, like, middle school level stupid jokes, like, although there were some things in here that were very stupid in that regard, but in terms of, like, just the writing quality. Like, you can't tell me a professional film writer wrote this film. It's so disconnected from itself in so many ways. It's like I know I started off these afterthoughts by saying, like, oh, the best I can say about this movie is it's a thing that happened, and then I go into these tirades talking about how bad a lot of it is. But the reason I was, like, starting things off with that is because of the good parts. The action scenes are great. That the sequence at the end there in the house was actually pretty fantastic, though. Killing off the two government agent guys, like, super suddenly and out of nowhere, basically making their characters mean literally nothing. It's like, sure, they certainly had a point in this. Another wasted actor with Hank Azaria there. but the sequences were very well put together. It just felt like a completely different film from most of the movie. If I were to say the three best scenes in this movie, they would be the scene where he's trying to drip the poison agent into the sleeping guy's mouth, and he wakes up and he has to go down and kill him directly. That scene was really well done. The fight in the convenience store was probably the best action sequence in this. The fight, the gunfight in the convenience store, it kind of reminded me, this is going to sound fucking weird, but it kind of reminded me of the fight between Spider-Man and the Lizard in The Amazing Spider-Man, where, where Stan Lee's in the foreground listening to music and not hearing these two fight behind him in, I think it's a library. They did the same thing here with the employee of the store playing the Doom cabinet, with his music going full volume on a Motorhead's Ace of Spades and not hearing the massive gunfight behind him in the store. That scene was amazing. And then the third scene, again, the final action scene. Those three scenes are the best moments of this film. None of them have to do with Debbie. None of them have to do with the romance at all. And it's just... I'm just really disappointed, too. Because it's like... When I first heard about this film, I didn't know anything about it, of course. I didn't know the plot or anything. I just knew John Cusack, and a movie that takes place in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. All I knew. So I went into this film, and it's like, okay, I'm excited to see what this is. I like John Cusack. I like it when movies are set in Michigan. It's pretty fun as someone from Michigan. So I wanted to see what this was going to be, and it's like, okay, it starts off a little shaky, but not too bad. But then it starts going into the romantic thing, and he's like literally entirely ignoring his job the entire time he's there, focusing on literally nothing but Debbie. And it's just like, I don't care about this shit. I just don't care. Whenever it went back to the actual assassination stuff, it's like, okay, that was good, but... And then Alan Arkin's performance in this, it's like, he wasn't the worst, but it's like, why was he there? Why did you throw in this therapist plot point? What was the point of that? What did it actually do? Like, was it just for, like, comedy? Because it wasn't funny. There was nothing funny about it. What was the intent behind introducing this character and just having Martin call him at various points and show him getting either more fed up or scared or both or whatever? What was the point of that? It's... This movie is so inconsistent and just baffling. Like I mentioned it like near the end of the reaction somewhat, but there's a lot of parts where I wasn't talking, I wasn't saying much because I didn't really have much of anything to say. I didn't know what to talk about because there was either nothing to comment on or I just had nothing to add to a scene. I was just kind of in shock at some things, at how bad it was. I look, okay, here's an example of a scene that confused me, by the way. Um, it's during the school reunion, right? Martin is talking to the drug guy. I think it was Bob or something. The guy who kept wanting to do blow. He's talking to him. It's and there's the entire poetry reading. Debbie's watching this while he's getting Bob to read the poem, or skip through most of it, but still. And he kind of calms Bob down and gets him to like become docile and everything. One, the scene is pointless. It has no relevance to anything. But it almost seemed like it was trying to be relevant because it, again, Debbie was watching, but that never went anywhere. It didn't amount to literally anything. It was a pointless moment. It's like I think this was like right before he killed the hitman that was after him, the kickboxer. The character wasn't a kickboxer, the actor was, but still. I think it was like right before that. Maybe I guess it was to show that Debbie was like following and watching him, and so that way when she came up and saw that he had killed the guy, it tracked more. But that would be completely unnecessary. You could have her arrive anyway. Which also, by the way, that was very blatantly obvious she was going to come up and find that. Because she had to find out at some point, and it just felt like the right point. You just. You just. You didn't need to show her there. It didn't add anything. It didn't do anything. It wasn't necessary to convey that she would appear at that moment. It didn't actually amount to anything. It was a wasted scene, a wasted moment, and just felt completely arbitrary. I feel like I'm just at this point where I don't understand. I'm not even angry. I just genuinely don't get how this film got like released like this. Like if you told me this was a first draft at a film, I would believe you because there's so many issues with it. It doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel like it's finished being made. There's also some audio mixing issues, which, mind you, some older movies have had, so that's not like the biggest problem, but it was definitely noticeable. A lot of the music and whatnot was a lot louder than the dialogue, and the dialogue was drowned out during a few scenes. Sorry for that pop up notification sound. But anyway, I will say that the music choices were good. Like, good songs. Blister in the Sun, Under Pressure. Songs that, kind of fit with what was going on and everything and the idea of things. But while it was a really good soundtrack, I don't feel like it really felt fully in tune with the film. Like it didn't feel like it was integrated in properly. It just felt like, oh, we're just gonna randomly play a bunch of great music at random times. It's like, okay, when we're showing scenes of like the radio station and everything, it's like, okay, that's fine. Play the music then. That makes sense. Um, but there's random points where it's just like it just starts playing randomly catchy, great music, and it's like, okay, sure. I will say some of them did feel integrated in. Like again, having Ace of Spades with Motorhead being on the Altamart employees headphones and all. Sure, great, got it. Some of the music at the dance, it's just being played for the dance. Cool, fair enough. But it's just like other parts where it's just like, oh, we're just gonna randomly play some really cool music here. It didn't feel like it was properly integrated to me. Um, Other than that, though, I mean, generally speaking, it's just not a good movie. It's not the worst movie, but it's not good. It has too many issues, and even the best parts of it, the action sequences and stuff, don't fix it enough. They're not good enough to where it overshadows the bad. The bad is still very much front and center. especially since the majority of like the meat of the film in the middle was centered around that. And it's just like, and especially because, again, as I said, I don't feel that they had any chemistry. I could not get into this relationship at all. So, yeah. I just feel like this one was not a good one. It sucks that this is what we're ending the January random movie reactions on. But, I mean, what else can I say? I feel like I've given my thoughts here. I feel like it is what it is. There's not much of anything else to add to it. So I just didn't like it. If you like this film, that's fine. Like I said, it's subjective. It's all opinion. You can like this movie. I just personally didn't. It's all opinion. And I'd love to hear yours. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this movie? What did you think of the acting, the dialogue, the writing in general, the music integration, the edits and cuts and transitions? Let me know your thoughts on everything I've kind of mentioned here and more. If there's anything specific that I didn't mention that you want to hear my thoughts on or want to bring up, please feel free. But for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.